So I'm still at the fraud deposition. We go through, we end about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we come in the room and I say, I'm done asking questions, and immediately I hear from the other side, off the record, off the record, off the record. So they must have planned it. And he looks at me from across the table and he says, see you next Tuesday.
For the second deposition. Was the deposition on a Tuesday, counsel?
Well, no. No, I don't think it was. We'll look it up, but I don't think it was. And I, thank God, had no idea what that meant. So I said to him, what are you talking about? I'm coming back on Wednesday. Which literally is an honest answer. I had no idea what he was talking about. Then we get into the car.
Did he respond? Wait, did he laugh?
But they
or
said,
something?
they said it sort of like in a deliberate way, right? I mean,
yeah. You could tell it was like a kind of a joke again, like teenage boys would come up with.
Yeah,
but again,
that is a teenage boy level joke.
Yeah, I wasn't in on the joke, so I had no idea. Then we get into the car, and my colleagues are like, Robbie, do you know what that means? And I'm like, no, what are you talking about? They tell me, and I'm like, oh my God, thank God I didn't know, because had I known, I for sure would have gotten angry. There's no question I would have gotten angry, and I didn't because I didn't know. So I was super polite, and I looked like I was being above it all, which I wasn't. I just didn't understand. So then
that's just an amazing story.
We come back the next Wednesday for the deposition in Carroll, and that was very different. On that deposition, I really just wanted him to talk. I mean, I just knew that he was going to say crazy things, and the only thing I needed to accomplish was I wanted him to confirm that his theory of the case was never met her, never happened, right? I wanted to make sure that that's what I was defending against, or that's what I was prosecuting my case against at trial. We're pretty early in the morning, and Matt, you should say what you remember, and he starts to talk about, I'm kind of getting him to confirm this defamatory statements he made, and he said, oh yeah, they showed me a photo where we were together, and I wasn't really trying to be a trickster at all. I said, well, I think I have a copy of that photo. Let me show you. We pull it out, and I said, is this the photo? And he starts to look at it, and he literally points at E. Jean and says, that's Marla.
I don't even know who the woman. Let's see. I don't know who. It's Marla.
You're saying Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla. Yeah, that's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to?
No,
Here.
Carroll.
Oh,
the person you just pointed to was E. Jean Carroll. And I was so shocked. I said, what did you just say? And he said, that's Marla. And I was like, sir, that's E. Jean Carroll. You just pointed at E. Jean Carroll. Then Haba, it took her a little bit, but she realized that was a big problem, pointed out to him that it was E. Jean Carroll, and he said, oh, yeah. And then here's the classic Trump. Then he says, oh, yeah, the photo was blurry, which I used in both my jury closings because that photo was not blurry at all.
And then remember, his statements to the public were, she's not my type.
Yeah, right.
And he's identifying this gorgeous woman in the photograph who happens to be E. Jean Carroll as his wife.
Later in the deposition, I said to him, I take it all your wives are your type. And he said, oh, yeah.
She's smart.
But that was I think the hardest moment I've ever had in a deposition, just to sort of keep it cool
laugh
and not react. But you sort of know what just happened. You can't sort of show what
and
you know.
You can't believe it just happened, and you're just like, you have to do the poker face thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we had lunch right after. That day they provided lunch. There were no complaints. And we were so happy at that lunch. Remember, Matt?
Yeah.
You must have been.
But that was actually, there was 2 moments during the deposition where we really had to, I think, play it cool. The first was the misidentification. But the second was when, in the afternoon, when we played the Access Hollywood tape. In his sort of response to the Access Hollywood tape is, fortunately or unfortunately, that's the way it is.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything. Grab them by the you can do anything. That's what you said, correct?
Well, historically, that's true with stars.
It's true with stars that they can grab women by the
Well, if you look over the last million years, I guess that's been largely true. Not always, but largely true. Unfortunately or fortunately.
And you consider yourself to be a star?
I think you can say that, yeah.
And when we heard the fortunately,
stars have been able to do that for millions of years.
Yeah.
It was like since time immemorial, stars have done this.
Since the cavemen.
That did not help him before even his virtual presence at the first trial via this deposition video. I mean that's what that helped lose him that first trial big time.
I said to him, so I take it you consider yourself to be a star, and he said, "Oh yes." And then on top of that, he insulted Eugene a million times. He told me I wasn't his type either.
That must have really depressed you.
I was very upset about that.
Yeah.
He said he was going to sue me very strongly.
Very strongly. We're going to sue you so strongly. No one has ever been sued like the way we're going to sue you. Many people say, sir, you should sue this woman strongly.
You said this thing before, though, about how he is kind of funny. Like,
yeah.
What did you, because I think this is an underappreciated point. I'm sort of constantly trying to explain this to reporters or even to Democrats who are like, but he's so essentially repellent, which can be true, along with the fact that he is almost charming in his own way and is funny. Like when you said the thing about who thinks the election was stolen in 2020 to raise his hand, I would have laughed out loud in court if he did that. And it's like,
but but the thing about him is he's funny sometimes without really knowing that he's being funny.
Well, that's sort of my question is
because
like how self-aware is he about how he's being, or is it like he's funny in the way that he is a 78-year-old man who acts like a 15-year-old boy and so that is just funny, or is he very cognizant of how he's engaging with people and has sort of a lizard brain understanding of how to play to people?
I think it's both, honestly. I think it's both.
I do think that in certain ways he has more control over himself than he's sometimes given credit for. And I think it's telling that from June 2019 until October 2022, he didn't say a single thing publicly about Eugene while the case was going on. He then, right before his deposition, after he had moved unsuccessfully for a stay and it was denied, he reacted and lashed out on True Social, and then was quiet again until the trial. And then since then, I think it's been in his interest just to sort of ignore any sort of concept of preserving whatever he wanted to preserve for the court case and just go off. And so I think the fact that he stayed quiet for 2.5 years, I think shows that he's able to.
Well,
at some point, he decided it wasn't worth it.
I'm going to dissent a little from that view. You actually sat in the room with him all that time, so that absolutely that's worth a lot. But he can't help himself. He's like a fire hose, okay, and it just sort of goes in one direction and it goes off in another direction, and he's very, very impulsive. And once you get on his radar screen enough, or at a certain moment, it just comes out. He's got a fire, he just sort of launches in a direction. And I think, when these cases reach critical moments, at certain point he obsesses about them, and then he goes wild. And usually sometimes it's at 2 a.m, but that's, I think that's, I think that's part of what we saw here. I don't think it's I don't think it's calculated, and I don't think he's showing restraint. He's got so many things that he's outraged about that he does from time to time move on, and that's what I think we're seeing now. As much as obviously the $88.3 million has had an impact, but I think he's got other problems. He's got 91 problems, as I like to say.
And jail is one.